Yo, what is going on, guys? Utopia back here in another video, and today we're going to be discussing on how to build a new PC, as you guys saw in the thumbnail. And yeah, we're going to be basically giving you guys how to get the components from motherboard to CPU to graphics card, RAM, CPU cooler. We're going to be covering everything and all of its details. So yeah, I think you guys saw it from the thumbnail. So yeah, let's get to it. Alright guys, let's start. First of all, you have to know that we're going to start with the motherboards. So yeah, I usually start with the motherboards because this is where you're going to be putting every single component of your PC in. So yeah, this is an old motherboard. This is it. They're both the same series, the B series. So we actually have I'm going to talk about Intel. In terms of Intel, there's three series of motherboard. There's A series, H series, and B and Z series motherboards. Now, first of all, I have to know I do not own a H series motherboard, but I do have these two. This was for my old PC, and this is for my new PC. So yeah, the B series motherboards are, to be honest, the best ones. In terms of price, in terms of performance, in terms of RAM slots, in terms of pretty much a lot of things. So yeah, let's start with the H series. So yeah, the H series motherboards, come with less RAM slots. You only have 2 RAM slots. That way you can't have XMP on. You can't have, a lot of stuff on. And in my opinion, they are the weakest types of motherboards, but they're still good. You can put anything you want on them. Not necessarily bad, but yeah. And then we have these ones, the B series motherboards. So now we're going to be talking about them. The B series motherboards have 4 whole RAM slots. That means you can have XMP on, and it just gives you faster RAM. And we got M.2 slots, which is good. You can fit in 8 teras of that. So yeah, 4 teras, but don't really recommend doing that. It's going to have a lot of space for nothing. So yeah. Also, the Z series motherboards. The Z series motherboards are probably the best motherboards out there, but they are a lot similar to the B series motherboards. They are so similar, you won't even notice any difference. The only difference I really care about is from the B to Z series is that the Z series has 4 M.2 slots, so you can fit more memory in there, which is good. It's not bad, but I don't really see why you should have 4 M.2 slots. I think 2 is pretty much enough. So yeah, that's about the series. And now let's talk about the socket. The socket's going to matter a lot with us because this is how you're actually going to choose your processor. I'm going to display which processors work on each of these. So this motherboard, let's leave this one, the new one, and let's talk about this one. The Gigabyte Ultra Durable B460M DSX3 version 2. As you can see, it's Intel chipset H470. It's not the H series, it's the B series. I don't know why it says that there, but yeah, so you have to focus here. Right here, as you can see, it's an LGA 1200. So LGA 1200 fits, I think we have 10th gen and 11th gen CPUs. It's just this one right here. This is a 10th gen Core i5 LGA 1200, as I said, 10400F CPU. Now, you can't just take an LGA 1700 and fit into this LGA 1200. As you can see, this one says LGA 1700. That means you have to have, that sequence between your motherboard and your CPU. You can't just get a random motherboard with a random CPU. So yeah, you have to know 460 usually means it's LGA 1200. There's no 460 LGA 1700. That's the case here. So yeah, also I think, if I'm not mistaken, that the B760 has better heatsink for your PC specs or your PC parts. So there's going to be a lot of good cooling on this one. And yeah, now let's talk about how we put those in. Let's talk about this one. And I forgot to tell you this, but this is actually a Wi-Fi motherboard. Some motherboards have built-in Wi-Fi where you can just take the antennas, plug to the motherboard, and play. Unlike other motherboards like this one, it doesn't have Wi-Fi. You need to get a certain external part to have Wi-Fi. So yeah, this one is the LGA 1700 we've been talking about. This is what you compare with 12 gen and above. And as you can see, I have the 14600KF, LGA 1700, and LGA 1700. So yeah, they work pretty fine together. And yep, let's get to it. Let's get to the next part. So the next part is really simple. Let's get two of them together so I can explain this easily. Yes, okay, so this is a DDR4 motherboard and this is a DDR5 motherboard. Now, what's the difference, Utopia? We don't understand. Okay, basically DDR4 and DDR5 is what you're going to use to put your RAM for. Okay, so now we've got both RAM kits right here. So yeah, let me explain DDR4 and DDR5 in depth. We don't understand what that means, so yeah. Here, let's start with DDR4. DDR4 is the slower one, and DDR5 is the strongest one. I guess you can guess that from the name. Okay, so to pick your RAM, you need to look at two things. Don't just look at this and go like, oh, I'm gonna do this one. No, you have to look here, right there. Okay, DDR4. Let's just run DDR4. Just check the motherboard is DDR4 or DDR5, and just get it. And also, you make sure to get a good speed. Don't just get like anything less than 3000, I guess, for DDR4. So yeah, DDR4 goes up to 3600 megahertz, while DDR5 is so fast that it can go up to 6000 to 7200 megahertz. That's crazy difference, almost double the performance. So yeah, don't just go get a random motherboard and DDR4 motherboard and just expect DDR5 to work on it. No, that's a difference. But you have to think about something. A 32 gig DDR4 is actually cheaper than a 16 gig DDR5. So if that matters to you, I guess you should go with DDR4. But DDR4 is going to be stopped. It's not going to be supported anymore soon. So I guess you could go with this one, DDR5, for now. And yeah, also you guys need to know the XMP. XMP works by adding the RAM on slot 2 and slot 4, if I'm not mistaken, right there. So yeah, I guess that's everything you need to know about RAM. Also try to get it from a well-known company. Don't just go and get like any random company. There's Crucial, it's a good company. There's Corsair, a very well-known company. And yeah, as you can see, this one, some RAM actually come with XMP ready. You don't really need to go to the BIOS and stuff. So yeah, 30,000 megahertz, 6,000 megahertz. I think it's an obvious difference. So yeah, on to the next explanation. Alright guys, now I'm going to be speaking in terms of CPUs. We got the i5 10th gen and the i5 14600KF, and which one is faster? Oh, these are both i5s. This is what a newbie would say. So yeah, let's explain. So Core i5 10th gen, you gotta look at the generation to know how it's fast or not. So to pick your CPU, you now have your motherboard, which I already explained. So yeah, so what do these stuff mean? 10 means the first two letters are usually the generation. So yeah, this is 10th gen 400F. What does the number in the end mean? Okay, the number at the end basically means, first of all we have, F, KF, K, and no number. What does it mean? So F basically means that there is no graphics, no internal graphics card inside the CPU, which, it's not going to make that big of a difference. It's not going to be that big of a difference, to be honest. And here it already says, discrete graphics required. There's nothing inside here. So yeah, we explained this. So let's go here. i5 14600KF. Okay, 14. That means it's 14th gen. And KF. Okay, now KF is something that people may not understand. So the K here means that you can overclock this safely. Now to overclocking, you're going to have a good motherboard that can transmit enough power for it to be overclocked. The B series is good for overclocking, but I recommend it on a Z series motherboard. But regardless, this thing is fast without overclocking, and I won't overclock it, to be honest. But it's good to have an unlocked CPU. If it has a K, that means it's unlocked. That means it's going to use more watts. That means you're gonna have a larger PCU / power supply. So yeah, and now the F here. The F here also means this one needs a graphics card. This one does not have internal graphics card inside. It also says here discrete graphics required. So that means overall, this one can be overclocked safely and it's unlocked, but it doesn't have an internal graphics card. Okay, now, I don't own a K alone or a, zero letter CPU, so I'm going to have to be explaining it. Okay, so if we have an i5 14600K, what does that mean? That means it does not have an F. That means there's an internal graphics inside. You can put this without a graphics card. You can put it without a graphics card. You can overclock it safely since it has the K letter. And the ones that come without the K letter and without any letter at all, that means they have discrete graphics inside since there's no F. And what else? You cannot overclock it. You cannot overclock the ones that don't have a letter since they do not have K. That means you cannot safely overclock it. It's going to burn down on you. So yeah. Of course there's i5, i7, and i9. And yeah, I need to explain something really important. If you're going for an i7, I recommend an F i7, i7 13700F, no K, and just buy a locked i7. Don't have it unlocked. And why are you saying this when you have an unlocked CPU? Why am I saying this? Because the i7 13th gen and 14th gen and the i9 as well, both of them have problems. So yeah, if you're gonna get an unlocked CPU, go with the i5 just like I did. Also guys, I'm going to be explaining something about these two later when I get to the graphics card. So yeah, understand guys, don't buy an unlocked i7 or an unlocked i9 13 and 14th gen. If you want to do that, just get an i5. The i5 is the best thing. And yeah, guys, this is completely different from this one. This one is on a whole other level. So you need to get that. Not just any i5 is similar to another i5. So yeah, let's get to the next component. Alright guys, now we're getting into the more smaller stuff. Okay, so this is basically the stuff, that one part which you're going to put all your games and all your videos in. Okay, let's begin. So there are two versions of these. We have an SSD and an HDD. Now, which one is better and which one is faster, and what does that mean? HDD basically means it's a hard disk. Okay, and what does SSD mean? SSD means it's a solid state drive. That means it's going to be faster. And yeah, let's talk about the HDD first. Now, I don't have an HDD. I did have an HDD on my PC, but this is another component, I guess. This one is a SSD SATA. There's actually two versions of an SSD that we're going to take. But now, let's just talk about the HDD. What an HDD is basically a disk. It's kind of like the DJ. It's that thing. So yeah, when an HDD is on load and there's a lot of stuff saved on it and there's a little bit of space left, it's going to start lagging, even the SSD. But the HDD is going to have a problem that isn't in the SSD. And that is going to be its speed. Its speed only goes up to 6 gigabytes per second. It's so slow, you're not going to have fun at all. Even at full speed, it's very bad. An SSD can go up to 7,000 these days, which is crazy. So, yeah, the HDD also gets hot. That means your PC is going to have temperature problems and stuff. And I don't really recommend getting an HDD in 2024 anyways, or even 2025 since it's really close. So yeah, let's talk about the SSD now. The SSD is a lot faster. It comes in high read and write speeds, such as this one. Okay, let's talk about the SATA first. There's NVMe and there's NVMe SSD, and there's NVMe M.2, and there's the SATA. I have an NVMe M.2, which is the fastest thing. This is a PCIe 4.0. This is basically, how do I say this? This is the slot in the motherboard. It doesn't really matter. A PCIe 5.0 can put a 3.0. So yeah, I don't really think you need to care about that. What you need to care about is the speed. The PCIe 4.0 goes up to 3,500 megabytes to 5,000 megabytes, I think, these days. So yeah, what you're going to focus on is the speed. and the amount you're going to have. This one is 2 terabytes, which is enough for content, enough for gaming. And what I actually like to do is to split it into 2 partitions, 1 terabyte for my videos and 1 terabyte for my games. And once I'm done with the videos and I save them in a file, on Google or anywhere, I just delete the videos so I can have more space for more videos. So yeah, and now let's talk about the SATA. The SATA isn't really that fast, this one is 480 gigabytes, which is like half, divided by 5 out of this, which is crazy. So, sorry, divided by 4. Rookie mistake right there. Okay, now, as you can see, this one is 6 gigabytes per second, which is very bad. And as you can see, the write speed is also 500 megabytes per second for read. Not the best. As you can see, it's not the best. This one is way better. Also, guys, this is just like the RAM situation. You need to get this from a good company. Lexer, Kingston. Kingston is overall a good one. They've got more versions of these, but I just like this one most. It's a good price, good speed, 2 terabytes. And yeah, that's pretty much it for these two. And yeah, let's get to the next component. Alright guys, as you can see right here, we've got the CPU cooler. What is this CPU cooler? Okay, you guys have to know that a CPU cannot run without its cooler. You can't just put a CPU there and expect it to work normally. It's going to malfunction, it's going to burn, a lot of bad stuff's going to happen if you don't have a CPU cooler. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed, but the i5-10400F box came in a fat box, while the 14600KF came in a slim box. Why? Okay, I have a pretty good explanation for that. And this is because the F processors tend to go on cool temperatures which are not that high, so you're just going to have to use a stock cooler, which in my opinion is, you could say it's enough, but it's not the best. You can get an external one out from outside. You can get a Cooler Master, air cooler. You can get a deep cool. You can get anything. It's better than the stock cooler, because the stock cooler, I don't know how to say this, but the F processors tend to run hot on the stock coolers. So yeah, but why did this one not come with a stock cooler? And that's because the K processors tend to become hotter. They're hotter on, because they're unlocked, of course. The high speeds equals more temperature. So yeah, so what do we do? They expect you to buy a external cooler, such as I did this. I got the Liquid 360 Core RGB. Why did I get a 3 fans? No, this is not an air cooler. This is an AIO, a liquid cooler. And we have 2 types of coolers, air cooler and liquid cooler, and this is one. So I'm not going to get into details about the open cooling. I was going to talk about the locked one, the AIO. So what is an AIO? Okay, it's a liquid cooler basically. There's 2 versions of it. I forgot to say that. There's a 360 liter one and the 240. Now, for Intel to run hot, if you have a KCP, so yeah, I got this one, the 361. And air cooler is not going to be enough for this bad boy. It's not going to be enough at all. But if it's going to be for this one, yeah, I'd say it's more than enough, you could say. Yeah, do not get a liquid cooler on an F processor, guys, unless it's an i7 or an i9 or an i5 14th gen. But 10th gen, no, don't do that. I don't even think there's LGA 200 bracket inside of this. So yeah, so what it basically does is, here there's the pump. It pumps all the way up to here. The fans are outtake. They take off the heat, and then the cool water comes back to the CPU and cools it. That's basically what it does. It's really simple, but how to fix it is the hard part. And yeah, let's get into the next part. Okay, also I wanted to say that what was it? So yeah, 30 series graphics cards and under, 30 series and under don't have this one thing that's on the 40 series graphics card, and that is DLSS 3 and ray tracing. The ones on the old 30 series graphics cards are not as good as this. So yeah, 4070 is stronger than a 4090, without DLSS. So once you put DLSS, you're going to have, crazy FPS. So you don't even imagine how that means. So yeah, also guys, you need to be careful once you choose this. You don't just choose this and choose a weak processor. You need to have a good processor. Now, a lot of people tell me that I made a bad decision because I had an i5 with a 4070. You're like, oh no, you got an i5. You need to have an i7. No, that's not the case. Now, this is probably unique because this one is a 14th gen CPU. It is stronger than the 13700F and 13700K. It's slightly stronger. What's the 13700K answer? They're basically the i7 13th gen. The generation is more important. It is right to a certain extent, but you can't tell me an i3 13th gen is stronger than an i9 12th gen. No, that's wrong. That's very wrong. But if you're going to have an i5 and an i7, yeah, generations will matter, but only slightly. But if the price was better, just get it. Get the i5. This one with this one has basically zero bottleneck, I guess. And yeah, you should not get. Now this is what's the problem. This is what people think is the problem. This is the problem indeed if you put it with a 4070. But if you put it with a GTX, it's going to run pretty finely. Now there's sometimes where a bottleneck happens from the graphics card. You know, the graphics card is bottlenecking this. You know, you see this at like 100%, and this is just like chilling down. You know, this is just making this slower. I don't know why the graphics, you know, bottleneck the CPU, but I do understand the fact that this can make this a lot weaker. And you guys need to understand, you don't need a big CPU if you want to play on 4K. You just need the graphics card. You know, you can get this and get away with a 12 Gen i5 on 4K and 2K, but 1080p, no. This is going to be your choice. This is going to be your choice. This is the best option out right now. And we have this one, you know, this one, just stick it to this one. I don't recommend getting this in 2024 as well. Try to get LGA 1700 as fast as possible. And yeah, guys, you know, the power supply, I'm not really going to be talking about the power supply because it's obvious, okay? You need to go check out online how much watts does this take up and how much watts does this take up. Regarding on that, get like 100 plus more than what you need. Okay, you know, you can do it in a PC part picker place, so yeah, it's going to tell you how much watts. It's going to just take 100 more than what you need. And you guys need to take consideration that your fans RGB are going to take in watts, so yeah, you have to think about that too. Your motherboard, you know, they don't really take a lot, so these are the two main priorities you're going to need. You know, if you have a 7 fan case, 9 fan case, 10 fan case, especially if you have an AIO, yep, go with 750 watts just like I did personally. But yeah, guys, I think this is going to be the end of the video right here. You know, the end of the explanation. So yeah, now we're going to get into the final results of the PC. Let's go. Okay, guys, I know I just said, you know, in 4K that I'm not going to be talking about the power supply, but I really have to because this is actually important. You know, after getting your PC, you got a power supply, and then suddenly your PC explodes. Yeah, that's bad. That's why, guys, you need to focus. You need to get your CPU out of a trusted company, not just any company. Cooler Master's trusted, it's verified. And yeah, usually you need to buy a power supply that has this, the 80 plus verification. There's bronze, there's gold, there's platinum, there's silver. I had the bronze. To be honest, the bronze is way more than enough. You know, you don't need to get a gold power supply for nothing. So yeah, I need to talk about this. You know, 750 watts is enough for my system. You know, it depends on your system and what you can get. So yeah, this is really basically it for the power supply. And now time for the final results, this time for real.